Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. If you didn't notice, I have a new camera I'm really excited about. It looks pretty clean and fun and exciting, so I like that. But yeah, I want to talk about items in Star Citizen. If you saw the title, should you lose items you pay for, is really kind of that it's a little bit clickbaity. I couldn't figure out the right title and how to describe this, but I want to talk about all items, not just items you pay for. But I had a conversation on stream with Space Cutlet and Reezer talking about just the difference between subscriber items and like the Vandal mask and their thoughts on how they should be handled. And I want to start out with a clip here from Disco Lando on how they want to handle subscriber items in the future here. And it's a little bit weird to me.
It says, will the subscriber concierge weapons be converted to normal weapons with skins so we can use them without fear of permanent loss? I'm going to go ahead and jump on that one a little bit. Nothing's been decided about converting them to the skins or the paint systems yet. But as far as the permanent loss, one of the things that we're driving towards is using the reputation system to resolve that issue. Basically, as the reputation system comes online and it gets further developed, one of the things that we're exploring with the sub team in the USPU feature team is to have subscriber vendors in locations, so where you can basically go and reclaim your subscriber items if you've lost them and whatnot. So I think that's how we'd want to address that first. As always, things are subject to change. We may.
Okay, so obviously things are subject to change, but subscriber items are really unique and different in the sense that you paid for them, and they're not skins, right? Like, paints don't really go away in the current way they're implemented in the game, but if your concierge gold weapon or your subscriber items, like a knife, let's say, if you die, you actually lose those, and you don't get them back until your character is reset or the server or a new patch comes out, right? So I think that's where this question came from that Lando responded to. The issue that I take with that is it does seem like a subscriber store would mean that you would need to maintain your subscription to replace your items, which is definitely not cool. But again, CIG is a company that needs to find post-release, post-ship sale monetization, and this could be one of the ways that they go. And maybe it's okay, maybe it's not. But the thing for me is this. How I believe it should be and how I believe the direction they should go is what the question was asking. Skins, right? You have the items in game and you have the skin that you can apply to said items. And you don't lose that. Anything that you pay money for, you should get back. In the sense of, I paid real money for this ship. We have insurance on our ships. You always get the hull back. I'm not sitting here saying my $3,000, I don't own a Javelin, but my $3,000 Javelin, if I lose it in game, I should never get it back. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm more concerned with the direction Star Citizen is going, which, if you haven't noticed, it does seem to be going in the direction of like almost a more dumbed down version of DayZ, where you're going to have items on yourself. You're going to bring them with you. If you die, you're going to lose them. And you're not going to start from scratch and be on the beach and have to start, on the coast and have to start over. But there is going to be a sense of loss coming to Star Citizen. Should players that subscribed and have subscriber items lose those items? I don't feel that. I don't feel that that should be the way. I feel like the right way to do monetization is to have it more of like a skin thing that you can reapply when you come back, and that item doesn't have artificial rarity because it was purchased, right? It's just a cool thing to show off. That's what MMOs, a big thing of MMOs is that. It's like the show off stuff. But something like the Vandal mask, something that was earned in an in-game event, that's different. And to me, that is something that you earned, and there are items that should be in Star Citizen that should be rare. And those items should be held in a place that is safe, right? Uh, like your apartment on a planet that that can't be looted or killed, accessed by anyone else other than yourself or anyone that you want to join there, and they can't access the items in it. Only you can. That kind of thing. That's a big part of MMOs as well. So for me, I feel like subscriber items, paints that you got for I don't know a big event or something like that you purchased on the website, yeah, keep them in that. It's part of my inventory thing that I can apply at any time. But items that are earned from in-game events, for example, the Vandu Mask or anything in the future, that's a different story. But this was a pretty long monologue. So with that said, I do want to jump in and get our first caller in, but I'm not 100% ready for them. So I'm going to get 100% ready for them really quickly here. The thing for me is it's very important that there's a feeling of loss in Star Citizen. But it's also very important that loss isn't for everything, right? The big thing for me is if we create a system, especially like the subscriber store, where the item exists in game. Let's talk about that real quick before we bring on Dingo, our first caller here. Is the current system of insurance and all of these things in Star Citizen is if you lose said item, like let's use the ships for example, or a subscriber item and this subscriber store. Subscriber helmet, I'm wearing it, I die, I lose it. That item can now be looted. The player loots it, they're now wearing my subscriber helmet. I go to the subscriber store, I buy that helmet back. Now there's two of those. It duplicates the item. Say I earned an item from an event that's a really good weapon. My ship is disabled. Somebody salvages that weapon off my ship. They now have that weapon. I get an insurance claim. I duplicate that weapon. So now that rare item that was valuable because it was rare is now less rare. And that is going to happen over and over and over again. And the item's going to continue to get less rare. You know what I mean? So that's the issue that I take with that. But yeah, I'm just about ready to bring in our caller here. I apologize. We're having a lot of fun before the show today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring in our first caller here, DINGOVALDOVAS. Dingo, welcome to the show. How you doing? Dingo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, I hear you. So what do you think about the whole subject?
It all comes down to whether CIG and you consider the paid for item as personal property.
Okay.
Outside of the game. Because if and I know that the virtual goods at the moment, when you buy virtual goods for real cash, you agree that they all represent as a limited license. You have a limited license right to it.
Okay.
However, if you and CIG consider it a personal property, then it has a responsibility to bring that personal property back to you once it's been stolen somehow.
Okay. Elaborate on that a little bit.
So, for example, you paid, say, $100 to have a particular looking item that's only available in the cash shop.
Okay.
You have the right to wear that. You probably have the right to even dupe that. But the moment you log out and the other people who have that item log out, you go back to that one item in your possession.
I'm confused.
So for example, you bought an item, right? And it has a skin. So say it's a skin, right? And somebody steals that item from you in game.
Sure.
Right? They can have that item for only as long as they're logged in. So the moment they log out, they lose rights to ownership of that item.
Well, that's a shit system.
But see, that's the thing. If you consider it your personal property, then if the game doesn't return it to you, then it's actual real life theft.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, I don't think it should be considered real life theft. And the whole argument here, I want to know what you think. Do you think an item that is purchased in the game, on the website, I should say, so like let's use subscriber armor as the example, or something like a subscriber weapon, something that you can actually take from a player now, because you can't loot armor yet, but a subscriber weapon. I die, you've killed me, you take that weapon. You've earned that weapon for killing me, in my opinion. What do you think?
If you spent money on it, then you own that weapon. So if they take it from you, it has to go back to you.
Okay. What if what if we go with what I said earlier and they change the system and it's a skin? You own that skin. They got that skin from you, but you can paint your gun with that skin as many times as you like. One of the examples I was going to give earlier is just use they're doing this with everything now, right? A multi-tool attachment. It's a spray paint. And you have access to the blueprints of each paint through that, and you just spray your gun. So, hey, I'm going out. I know I'm going to be on I know I'm going to be on, I don't know, Microtech. I'm going to spray my gun white. I know I'm going on an 890 jump. I'm going to spray my weapon gold, right? Because I want to look fancier, whatever. So
you've bought the rights to a service to spray your weapons.
Yes, and to spray your weapon with that color, let's say, or that style.
So is that ability to spray the items a stealable ability?
No, see, I think that takes away the stealing aspect of it. Yes, you've earned.
Yeah.
You got my gun, but you're not duping anything. It's just a skin at that point. You're not duping the actual rarity of the item, right? The skin is there for cosmetic purposes only, to look cool, but it doesn't add to the rarity of the item. Where at the current point, because it's from a cash shop, and it's the old, like, let's use those crazy like Spartan helmets, right? You can only buy those for money. So if those were ever lootable, they're actually pretty rare because you can only purchase them.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This is where you the devil's in the detail with the limited licensing right of that item. So
I didn't think we were going to get legal tonight. Dingo, I'm
no,
caught off guard.
Okay, it's fine. I'm just saying. But like, okay, I'll give another example from another game. I used to play a game very short while called H1Z1, right?
Sure.
And in that game, I won a particular skin to a hat, right?
Sure.
And it was because I won. It was a sort of like a PUBG kind of round, and I won that skin, coming second actually. And I was able to use that skin on any like item that I found in the game, and I could give it to other players.
Yeah, but only in that round could they use it.
Yeah,
but
and
that's
then
because it's a round-based game. It's a little bit different. Can you really apply that?
They also had a permanent, semi-permanent
survival, right?
Maps as well. Yeah, survival maps. So yeah, I could do that and give it to other players. The thing was, the moment they logged off, I think it reverted to its original look.
Because
now there are other items like in World of Warcraft which you could actually dupe the item, but again they were limited in terms of how much the other player could use it, because you had the exclusive right to have that item.
Yeah. I mean, like
so when it comes to, but see, you can apply the same logic to the ships you buy, for example. Do you have the right to give your ship that you paid for to another player in game, and at the moment you don't.
Sure, but should you have that? I think it's clear that we're going to be able to sell our ships to other players if we want.
So, but that creates again another problem, because the virtual goods are non-transferable.
Gotcha.
It's mentioned that in the EULA.
Yeah.
So arguably, I mean, you can say that
But
if
I
you
call
acquired a
BS
ship
because they're
on...
literally going to make a trade window. So
yeah. Okay, let's get to the flare items and them mentioning that shop,
Yeah.
the subscriber shop. So I reckon, and this would be the more sensible position, that the game recognizes that you've bought an item from the flare item, and that item is registered to you. And if you lose it or destroy it, or for whatever reason, you know,
Drop
have
it
it
down a
not in your
cave hole.
inventory,
Yeah.
whatever, and it ceases to exist for whatever reason, you go to that shop. That shop recognizes that you have a registered item that is of that look, and you just buy it for in-game credits or whatever.
I hope that's
But
what it means.
you've got the right... Yeah, because it's still an item, so it should have an in-game value. But you've paid
every time you go to that
outside of the
shop,
game for
the in-game value goes down. That's the issue that I take with it. Is every single time you go to that shop
Because
and replace it, the in-game value goes down.
because it's duped.
Yeah.
Because if it's duped, then only one should exist. So if he's bought that item from that shop, all the other renditions of it should disappear.
And that makes no sense from a realism standpoint. If I looted the helmet off of you, it should be in my inventory until I lose it. The game can't just take that item away.
Yeah, and again, then it comes down to the rights of the person who purchased the item with real game with real money, and what is attached to that item, and that has to be fleshed out. Because looking at Disco Lando and looking at the other people all chin hugging, with their hands, thinking about it, it's obvious that they haven't really thought it out as deeply as they ought to.
Well, I think you're coming at it from this like crazy legal standpoint, where I think most people are thinking about it from just the in-game consequences. So it is a super, from me, from left field take on this whole subject, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, the moment you're telling customers that what they're buying is a transient thing that can be taken from them whenever, they'll just stop buying it.
Yeah. I mean,
they'll just do everything in game, and they'll just try and earn everything in game. Now, for the Vandal mask thing, is totally other question.
Yeah.
Because you've made an in-game effort to acquire it, and there's no legal monetary association with it. Your efforts within the game has given you the right to wear it. Then that has to be also fleshed out, whether that can be stolen, and whether there's only one of that kind ever because you've earned it, and because you can't earn another one, and arguably another player could probably earn another one, is sort of a question in itself. Because then you can have two masks instead of just the one.
I'm still I'm having a hard time buying into is it personal property or how do they handle it? I don't think they're going to consider it personal property.
It has to be addressed, because if people are spending real money for it, and it's not their personal property, it can be taken away from them whenever, then will they really spend that money on it?
I mean, are you kidding? Of course they will. But
it's to fund the development of the game, of course, But
yeah,
you want to have something, to make it feel like it's yours, and that that you wouldn't have that fear of losing it. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's hyper important that you have a fear of loss in Star Citizen, but it shouldn't be for every single thing. And I think it would make so much more sense to just keep the monetization efforts to, I mean, you can have monetization with items. Like, you could sell items that are armor and they look cool and they're skins, or they have additional items on them to make it look cooler. I'm totally fine with that. But if you go out to Pyro and you're killed wearing that armor, you lose that armor, right? Like, you have the option to leave that armor on a mannequin.
Tell me another game that has that kind of a system where you spend actual cash.
They don't.
And then lose, and then be able to lose it in game.
They don't, and that's why I argued the skins, is that you have the people are saying in chat Eve, because you buy stuff with ISK, I guess, and you could buy ISK.
I guess so. Yeah.
And Star Citizen's very similar.
Currency into ISK.
You could purchase currency and you could buy that stuff, right? So it's the. I think they're stretching, because we're more talking about a cash shop at the moment. I've never played Eve, but I don't believe you go to the Eve website and buy special armor for stuff. I feel like you buy ISK and then you buy the stuff in game. Where in this case you're going to a website and purchasing an actual item.
There's a strong disconnect between the real cash and the in-game item.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's converted into ISK, and then it's like, who knows what you're going to do with the ISK, you know. I think Second Life had an issue with property, and like CIG has sold land claim, you know, what is it, beacons, so you can claim land. I mean, again, are those beacons consumables? Are they reusable? You know, all these little things that we don't know about.
Yeah.
It still floats up in the air when we spend money on stuff for Star Citizen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of games like Star Trek Online, for example. You pay money to buy ships, or to buy Zenny and then buy ships, and if you, for whatever reason, delete the ship or whatever, you can always have a buyback, and the buyback's for free.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
so. I mean, that's how they handle it.
For me, I think we also need to discuss the fact that, like, there should be some safe areas where you can store your stuff and it be protected, right? So you kind of have to.
Yeah, they mentioned that your personal hangar will be that.
Exactly. So, and I assume you can invite people to your personal hangar. So the whole thing is, if you're able to have that place where things are protected, if you don't want to lose something, you have that option, right? But when it comes down to it, everybody wants to look cool. So they do have to come up with an idea for specifically subscriber items. I think everybody is going to be in somewhat of an agreement if I do said mission, earn said awesome gun that is overpowered or more powerful. Let's just use more powerful. That item is at risk. But if I went to a website and purchased a cool looking helmet because I wanted to look cool, that is definitely where there is a question of how to handle it. I don't agree with the clip in the beginning, because it does really seem like if I paid for a subscriber item in 2017, if I am not subscribed in 2021, there's a chance that I cannot get that item back if I lose it based on that system. Hopefully that's not the case, but if I was CIG, I would say you need to be subscribed to use the subscriber shop. That would be me. He also said the word reputation. Reputation with what? My wallet?
Yeah, again,
what?
And reputation can change as well.
Sure. So it's an interesting solution to the problem. It wasn't well explained because they're still figuring it out and working it out. How do you explain it if you don't know all the ins and outs of it, right? So you can't really blame Lando there for that one. But it is interesting. But we have been talking for a while, Dingo. So are there any little other things you would like to add?
Just personally, my position would be is that all the items that you get from the flare items are skinnable. I mean, you'd be able to skin them into a like item if you've lost it.
Yeah. Like, I think you should be able to purchase the base Spartan helmet and then apply the skins
Yeah,
that you
you would need
purchase.
to. Yeah, you would need to buy the actual item in game, and then you
Yep.
just skin it.
Yep. Exactly. You know, maybe it comes down to just colors, or I think that's what Warframe does, right? Like you buy color
Yeah,
palettes and then you could do stuff
yeah,
like that. So,
yeah,
all right,
yeah. I think Guild Wars 2 also has color palettes as well,
gotcha.
where you can buy a palette and then just recolor your armor.
Okay, interesting, interesting, interesting.
All right,
Yeah.
thanks for taking me on.
Anytime, Dingo. I think you had a really interesting take at it. I was not expecting the legal direction.
Yeah, sorry, but I mean, but when real
No, that's
money
good.
comes into play,
That,
that's really the first
yeah.
argument. Really, that
That that
has to exist.
yeah. No need to apologize for it. I think it was like unexpected is good. I mean it as a good thing.
Okay, good.
All right, brother. We'll talk to you soon.
See you later.
Later. All right. Our next caller is Jerry. What's up, Jerry? How you doing? I don't think we need to do the prequel to
Nah, I don't.
Jerry's stuff anymore. But yeah.
I'm
What
just here as a little rapscallion, some little Northern English kid who's got hot takes on Star Citizen.
Sure. So what do you think?
There's a lot to be discussed here, Mike. There's a lot we need to get through. I feel like all these items need to have pre-established rules. I don't feel like you should ever lose an item that you've paid real-world money for.
Same.
I think that concept is ridiculous.
Yep.
The big question that I want to cover is like gameplay aspects, right? How can you, if you steal someone's ship and they've paid 600 quid for it, what can you do with it? And this is something that they've kind of limited themselves with, right? So let's assume there's a world in Star Citizen where no one can buy ships for money. And you earn, oh, hello, Lola. And you earn a Star Runner. And then Space Cutlet comes along and he steals your Star Runner. And he's like, I'm going to take this ship and I can either make me the owner of it now. This is now my Star Runner. Or I could sell it at a black market and make money for it.
Sure.
These things are immediately, yeah, or strip it, whatever you want to do. These things are immediately impacted by the system set in place. So Space Cutlet can't now own this ship because if you've paid 600 quid for it, you can just redeem it. And then people are saying, oh, well, it'll just despawn, at which point he won't have a ship. That's another thing people, are popping off with in chat. Oh, the item will just disappear when you reclaim it. You can't just have things disappear from the universe. It doesn't make sense.
In a game that's supposed to have like some realism,
have
obviously.
persistence, exactly. That's another thing. The game is supposed to have persistence and ownership of items. You can't have persistence if things are just disappearing. And I think persistence is another aspect that digs into the point you made about duplicating items, right? So I think what Dingo said is a cool idea. So if you've got a weapon, which is a subscriber weapon, it's got the subscriber flare, you can steal that item from me for that session and you can own it. But the next time you log in, it will be the regular version of that weapon. You won't have the subscriber skin. But what this means is everything that is essentially then subscriber flare needs to be converted to be a skin of an asset rather than its own asset.
Yeah.
Which I believe is what it is now. So again, that's one thing. Probably shouldn't be able to use it for multiple play sessions. The thing you're saying about this quote unquote subscriber store, I think that's probably a miswording. I don't think it's a store for subscribers. I think it's a redemption store. So it's like you were a subscriber and got this item. This is where you can redeem it. PlayStation Plus has a very bad thing with this. Like it's like you pay for PlayStation Plus for the live service, £40 a year or whatever, and then every month they say you can have this game as long as you're a subscriber. And that's made very clear to the purchaser, like at the start, right? If you stop subscribing, you can't have access to your PlayStation Plus library. There's no pre-established rule with subscriber flare. Like, as you've said now, if you stop subscribing, you still have your gear. So there should be no reason why, if a store is implemented, you couldn't still access the stuff you have. And you also mentioned, well, CIG needs to still make money. They could just sell those subscriber items individually. They do that already anyway. All the armor is sold individually on the store. So there's no need to say you need to be a subscriber to have this armor. By being a subscriber, you basically just get it early at like a discounted rate.
No, being a subscriber gives you access to that store. And then you can buy the previous ones.
You can buy the previous ones when you're not a subscriber, though, right?
No. You
So
only have access to the sub store if you're subbed.
So, right. Well, that needs to change.
Yeah.
That should probably be what changes at the later on point, right? So then you can subscribe and get the item, and then if you don't want to subscribe, you can just buy it later on at probably an inflated price, and that would resolve that issue. But I suppose we're getting off the point of losing items. Like going back to the MSR, if I had an MSR that was full of cargo and Space Cutler came along and stole my MSR, he doesn't own that object, right? And there's no real way to have that transferability. And everyone's saying, oh, well, eventually we're going to have these methods of changing items. So I bought this ship and I'm just going to give it to my friend. I don't know if every single item is realistically going to work in that system.
No, here's what they mentioned about a stolen ship. Here's what they mentioned about stolen ships, just in case you weren't aware. This is what they've discussed with us in public prior, is that if there's a stolen ship, that ship has a unique ID number. That ID number can be spoofed, not changed. Ownership cannot be changed, but you can go to a place and spoof that ID number of the ship to make it appear as if it was yours for a time, a la The Expanse, with putting those like clear bits of RAM and changing the name, right? Something like that. But it's not your ship.
This is theory crafting for a future thing, though, right? This isn't in game at the moment.
Not in game at the moment. This is something that they've discussed with us on what their plans are for stealing other players' ships in game. But what happens when I claim my ship back? Now there's two.
Exactly. This is where the duplicating the item problem comes in, right?
Yeah, and this is why I want to have this podcast. Is there is that weird section of that just breaks all of the logic on everything they ever say, and it's
because it's like if I have an 890, if I have an 890 jump and you steal it and then I reclaim it. And then I get another one, and then I give it someone else, and then I spawn another one. You could technically just keep spawning your 890 jumps.
Yeah.
So maybe the established rule needs to be that if your ship exists in the world, you can't reclaim it. But then that removes or maybe that adds into the transfer of ownership thing, right? If Cutlet steals an 890 jump and he takes ownership of that, he has it, and that is his. But then I can still spawn mine. But that doesn't mitigate the problem of just then keep being on to duplicate these items over and over. So how do we get around that? Do we remove the transfer of ownership for specific items? Do we make only some items can be transferable, some can't?
That would break the realism of the game, right? So that's why I think this is actually like the title or the initial discussion of the topic doesn't seem that interesting. But when you really start to dive into it,
there's a lot to dig into it, right?
The logic of the game really fucking breaks.
Vandal masks, right? Like,
by the way, she just noticed the camera exists, so she's staring at the camera.
Oh, look at it. She heard the word Vandal mask and she was like, hey, I'm going to steal your Vandal mask. But like, that's something people work really hard for that doesn't have any monetary value outside of the game. But do you really want people to be able to steal that and you not have it? Like, how do you reclaim a Vandal mask? Like, oh, I'm just going to reclaim it and then it disappears off your head and you suffocate to death? Or, well, I don't know if the Vandal mask protects you from the vacuum of space. Probably not.
It does currently, but who knows?
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I just don't think items that have been bought with monetary value should be transferable. If they are, I do like the premise of the skin refreshing per play session.
That's so weird. It isn't
ideal.
Though.
It is weird. It is a weird thing, but I think it's a reasonable solution. Like, I know people were referencing Eve before, saying like, people can take your stuff, but you keep the skin, so you can reapply the skin. It doesn't, it breaks people's immersion, but it goes back to the thing of, do you want to have a fun game? Or do you want to put people's money at risk? Like, there's so much to digest with this.
There's a 0% chance that anybody should want anybody's money at risk, because here's what happens.
And this is the problem, right? Because if I've paid 600 quid for a ship and I'm told I can't do something, you can't steal my ship because I paid 600 quid for it, but someone earns it with UEC and that ship can be stolen, that's
totally
already
broken.
breaking the mechanic, because that's pay to win then all of a sudden, which
Yep.
you can't have the pay to win. So it's already going to impact the mechanics and the systems that can come online for how this is dealt with in the future, which is a bit concerning.
Yeah.
Now, do I have faith CIG will come up with a good solution? Yes, I think they'll figure this out, because they don't want people to lose out on hundreds of thousands of dollars that they've supported. But is it going to be an easy solution? No. Will there be a lot of Spectrum threads as soon as the first implementation is put in of people complaining? Yes, of course there will be. Will you get another few podcasts out of this exact same topic when this is implemented? 100%. And I'll probably come on those ones as well. Because until we have like an implementation of this and some kind of practicality to get feedback, all we're doing is theory crafting and all we're doing is speculating, and that's all we really can do. I don't think it's going to be a big issue.
Citizen is.
Well, that's your opinion. But yeah, I just don't think you should ever be able to lose an item that you've paid for, or realistically even transfer it. I don't think items you've bought with real world money should be transferable, not in game specifically. It needs to be tied to the account.
Yeah.
And if you want to change something to someone else's account, there needs to be a more thorough method of doing it, like going through the website and putting a ticket in and saying, hey, I want to send this to this account and this is how it needs to be done.
Yeah. There's somebody
Is anyone in chat kicking off, or I've hidden chat, so I don't know what's being said.
No, not really. There's one thing that's been said in chat, spammed a couple times, but I want to leave it out in case somebody.
Free Virgil.
No, I wanna leave it out in case somebody mentions it in a call. I don't want to take somebody's idea that may be calling with it. But if they don't, I'll talk
fair.
about it at the end. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's crazy.
One thing before I go, you mentioned the fear of loss. The fear of loss definitely shouldn't come from the monetary loss of your ship. It should come from redemption times and cost of in-game currency, right? If you spend 600 quid on a 890 jump or however much it is, and you lose it, it's not just like, oh well, I can get it back straight away. The respawn time for that is like an hour, and then it costs you like 50. They could up it to 100,000 UEC, all this sort of stuff. There's other systems that you can tie into that to mitigate it and still create that risk reward feeling. But you look at the weapons and armor and the fact that you're going to be able to loot corpses. Like if I kill someone that's got full subscriber gear, am I going to now have no benefit from looting their corpse because they paid for those items? Like,
no, that
kind of removes a bit of the fun.
Yeah,
which is why there needs to be that extra step of like, okay, maybe I take it, but the skin changes when I take it and it gets added onto my account.
Or okay, yeah, I had the same idea that person said in chat. I want to leave that away for now. But it is a pretty darn good idea. I'll leave it at that.
Well, I'm interested.
I'm clickbaiting inside the title with the clickbait of the podcast. I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to wait till the end, I think, for this one. But I think it's probably the best solution to the problem. But Jerry, are we letting you go, or is there anything else you want to add to the show?
No, that's my standpoint. I just don't think monetary items should be transferable or lost. And other than that, I think we just leave it in SIG's capable hands to figure out a system. You're all going to complain anyway, no matter what they do, so is what it is.
Sounds like a CIG dev to me.
Don't know what you're talking about. Thanks very much for having me, Mike. Been a pleasure as always.
All right, later, buddy. Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, Jerry opened up more issues than I even thought there would have been. So this is a complicated problem. And I agree with Jerry, we should leave it in CIG's capable hands because they are capable. The thing is why not share some of our thoughts on what could be possible issues, edge cases that we would use, all sorts of things like that. So when they get this problem in their capable hands to try and work out, that they have a bit more information on their desk before they do so. So, all right, we have Canuck on. Let's bring him in. Hey, Canuck, can you hear me? Testing, Canuck.
Yeah, can you hear me? Is my audio better?
Your audio's great. I hear you loud and clear, buddy.
All right, thanks. Do I shut down the Twitch stream to not get feedback and just go right off the Discord, or I'd keep them both open?
Definitely close the Twitch stream.
We'll do switching out. Yeah, I can hear you just fine. How you doing, Mike?
Good. So the question is not just should you lose items you pay for, but how should you handle special event items as well? Like the Vandal Mask that you earned in game. I know the Vandal Mask was obviously cheesed and it's not a super rare item, I don't think. I think most people that were playing the game at the time did get it. But how do you handle all these things?
Well, first of all, okay, start off with the Vandal Mask. You'll be proud of me. I didn't cheese it. I'm not a PvP guy, so I actively chose not to go get it. I figured, you know what, this is for people that are good PvP pilots. So, but I've been, you know what, sorry. I've been at this for a long time, like since the days of like Ultima Online. And I spent 12 years in EVE. And I'm kind of going to go against a little bit of the grain and say that I kind of adopt the EVE approach of if you can't afford to lose it, don't fly it. Sorry, but I do like some of the ideas you've presented. It was something we've talked about in our Discord chat for my org. I like the idea of the items being skins rather than items themselves, and that way the skins are exclusive and you can reproduce them. But if you lose the item's gone. That's a pretty simple solution for small, relatively inexpensive items. You know,
yeah,
like
we're talking about
3,
like
4...
weapons, right? Like a pistol or something.
Yeah. And all those weapons are, in fact, just reskins. So, I mean, you know, if you want to go on a sniper mission with a you know, neon green sniper rifle, knock yourself out. But my issue is more like with the ships. Like Jerry kind of touched on it there. You know, if you're paying, he said £600 for a ship, and you don't want to lose it, obviously. But a way they could get around that is, you know, how they haven't really worked it out. You know how they're talking about spoofing and then stealing and then maybe reselling a ship. Theoretically, what you could do, and I think it would be, you know, it's something you have to be differentiate between pledge ships and in-game ships with a marker in-game or with an abbreviation perhaps in front of it. And ships that are purchased in games, it's but not visually. Like I mean, like in their coding.
In the back end, okay.
And maybe what you could do is, in the back end, like you wouldn't have like an RN or an NC in front of it on your ship name. I mean specifically in the back end.
Understand.
And then somebody takes down a ship and they realize it's a subscriber ship, like it's a ship that a pledge person did, and you can do anything you want to that ship. You can fly it, but you can never sell it. The only thing you can do with it is scrap it. Like it's got like, I don't know, like an ignition lock that is unbreakable, and you can't. But an in-game purchase ship, you can do anything you want with that. If you steal somebody's in-game purchase ship,
pay to win, man.
Purchase ship, you just no. But see, the thing is there is no win in this game.
Yeah, don't give me that argument. Don't give me that argument. Don't give me that argument.
No, dude.
Please don't.
Well, but I have to.
Why?
Dude, we're gonna have to drop the gloves on this one, man.
We're gonna drop the gloves, but before we do, you have to explain to me, what does the person who got their ship stolen, what are their options? Okay?
Well, that's what happens. Okay, so good. Okay,
that's the most important thing in this argument. We might not have to drop the gloves.
They lose. No, okay. So person. Okay, we talking a pledge ship or are we talking an in-game ship?
Both should be the exact same scenario. If they're not, it's fucking pay to win. End of story. So, what is your solution to the problem? If I got my 600 eyes stolen by you, how do I continue playing the way I would like to play the game? Which is, there should be no differentiation between someone who purchased the ship on the website to someone who didn't. If I lose that ship, it should be the exact same scenario to get it back.
Yeah, but the issue is the thing is because you've got like an automatic reclaim on the pledge purchase ships, and of course I'm not in for 10 grand here, so it's easy for me to say this sometimes is because I'm in for $65, right?
Yeah.
But you know, but the thing is if you put in a system where you can just automatically claim anything and nothing ever disappears, then it's just going to get abused so hard.
Of course, there's no risk.
So,
either.
So I'm of the opinion, that if I playing Eve, if I decided to drop I never did, but if I decided to drop $300 on buying ISK, on buying Plex, and I sold it, and then I bought an Orca with it, and my Orca got blown up, well, that's it, gone. So the money I dropped onto that spaceship, the money I put into the store to buy a ship in game that got blown up, that money's gone. So there's a way to recover it, obviously, that they're setting up. But the way CIG set it up initially, saying, well, make a pledge, and then we're going to gift you a ship that gives you right to that ship. Because they didn't really define it early enough, now they've painted themselves into a corner. And they have to figure out a reasonable way to get out of it that people are going to accept.
You need to answer the question. What happens
when
I lose my ship?
Well, then you're going to have to claim it.
If I purchase
you're going
the
to claim
ship,
it.
I claim it. If I purchase
You're
the
gonna
ship
claim
in
it?
game,
Yeah.
I claim it. What happens to
Correct.
the ship when it's claimed?
Well, if we're assuming everything is the same, then the ship is just going to exist, and then CIG is going to have to figure something out. Because the thing is, they can't suck and blow at the same time, unless they're willing to put in a system to say that subscriber ships, I don't want to say pledge ships, are not transferable. You can scrap them, you can salvage them, you can strip them, and you can sell them to like vendors maybe, but you can't fly it.
I think it comes down to this, dude. Insurance has to be a monetary thing, and you gotta go and get the ship back. It can't be like you just get it back.
No, but you know what? The thing is it's not like, okay, maybe like Auroras, because if you read like back in the jump points from 2013 when they were presenting the Auroras, saying these are like everybody's got one. So you go to a car lot and it's essentially the Chevy Cruze of cars kind of thing. There's lots of them, but there aren't like 1,000 890 jumps sitting around a parking lot in a station for you to claim and get. You lose a jump, I think reasonably you might have to wait 30 days to get it back. And if you don't like that, don't fly combat missions with a jump.
Killed. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you
but
on
the thing
that.
is, again, that's kind of the EVE Online in me. Is just if you can't afford to lose a ship, then don't fly it.
Yeah.
Full stop.
100%.
I do think though. I like the idea for you're talking about the Vandal mask. You should be able to lose that too. If you want to cruise around diverse wearing your Vandal mask and somebody steals it off you, well, you lost it. That's the end of it.
Yeah. And there's only one. That was my Vandal mask, and now it's gone.
And you've got it. That's right. And so if you want another one, you got to find somebody who's wearing one. But you should have a way to protect it. So if they do homesteads or something, and again, it is a video game. So we're not. They're not making 1,000 ways to die kind of thing here. It's not supposed to be just everything is punitive, which I think sometimes they're trying to develop systems that are punitive all the time. But you know how they're saying like things that are in your personal hangar would be protected. Well, I think if you have a homestead, maybe there should be a way that if you're displaying things in your homestead, like you were saying earlier, if you really like something and you don't want to risk losing it, then don't risk losing it.
Yeah.
But you should have a way to protect those things. If you make the decision, I would like to display my Vandal mask on a shelf so that when I invite people over to my homestead, they can see it. If they do put in a way mechanic where you can bomb that homestead or loot that homestead, certain items should be protected with it because you've made an effort to say, I'm not actively taking this out into the real world because I want that trophy.
Yeah.
Because the thing is like you're not being stupid with it. You're being cautious. You're saying, I like my mask. I want to keep my mask. I'm going to put my mask, here. And you should have a reasonable expectation to not lose every single thing at every single turn. I just want to
look at my mask.
You can't be on 24/7.
Yeah, I want to look at my mask and be reminded of what it took to get that. And that's me.
That's right.
That's my thoughts on it.
And when I come and visit you, when I come and visit you, I say, you know what? I don't have a mask like that.
Tell me about that mask.
Kill 50 people.
Maybe you didn't even know what it like.
That's right.
Because think about it. This is the first ever item in game. If this game lasts, the idea of you coming around and going, yo, what is that? Where'd you get that? Like if you were a player that just started playing maybe a year, 5 years from now, something like that, people wouldn't know what that was, and you tell the story about it. I mean, I think that's kind of cool.
Well,
but
that's
the whole thing
and that's
is
the socialization aspect of it.
Yeah. I don't know. The big thing is, and my headphones are running out of battery, but the big thing is the you shouldn't be able to lose items you pay for. That's silly. But the game shouldn't artificially dupe them either, because then it's just weird. So,
No, and that's the thing.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
just have an infinite number of items.
yeah, giving items. So I think what you really need to come from is what gives the item the value, and if what gives the item the value just the way that it looks, which is 99% of the subscriber items, just make it a skin.
Mm-hmm.
It's that easy, man.
I agree 100%.
You know, and
And
if
you can
you
even
want
do
to
like
make it build it around reputation, you got to go to the subscriber shop to reapply the skin. Go for it, man. That's cool, because that also adds the risk of, damn, if I lose this item, it's a bigger pain in the ass to get it back. But
Yeah.
if I lose a regular one, it's just whatever. So if I'm going to bring out my subscriber stuff, I really don't want to lose it. So I'm only going to bring that out when I'm walking around Terra, because it's a pain to get it back. And I think that creates some risk and reward, but also, well, maybe just risk, but not really reward. And it's just a weird thing where duping of items that have rarity because they're either purchased or they're earned in game is this really weird thing, especially with ships. So I always thought, I mean, we've had, I think, 2 answer the calls about insurance in the game. I believe the way insurance works in Escape from Tarkov is 1,000% the way to go. You apply insurance to a ship or an item or whatever, and whatever items you insure, you pay that much money for, and if you die, you send the company out. If that item was not looted from your ship, you get that item back in 48 hours, right? Or and 2 hours, depending on how much you paid for insurance. So if nobody looted that ship for the special weapon that you got from the the Vandal event in the Ryla system one day, let's say, you got a super powerful Vandal weapon that you ended up losing because you died in a PvP fight. Well, guess what? If somebody looted that off of you, you shouldn't be able to just reclaim it and get it back. You should have to do that event again or find somebody selling one in game. So it's that's really how I feel, and I feel really strongly about that. And subscriber items, I think the simple solution is just skins, man. Skin it.
Yeah. You can even go so far as to like some minor. I'm not a big crafting fan. I don't like magic anvil crafting, but you could even do it like almost like a minor recipe. So, for example, the Centurion helmet, you've got the skin, but you still need to get the helmet and then apply the skin or the maybe a couple of pieces and you put it together. That's reasonable. But you're talking about losing. We're talking about ships. Last point, and then I'll let somebody else jump in. You own a ship that's a pledge ship. You can't just simply sell that to somebody in game because you have to relinquish actual, real, true ownership of that.
Yeah.
So I could see them having to put in a system where it either has to be gifted through the CIG website, or if you want the money for it, you have to sell it for whatever value that CIG places on it through the pledge store, and you'd only get UEC for it. So you can't be selling ships that you can claim. And that's the same thing with items. You can't have items be able to exchange items in a trade window and then just simply turn around and reclaim the items again. Well, you could, I suppose, but I mean, eventually, in real life, your insurance agency wouldn't be too happy with you.
Yeah, of course.
Because then you get into the whole duping issue. Anyway, if my audio was okay, great. If it wasn't, I was having issues with it. But I'll let you go. Like I said,
pretty perfect.
Long time listener. I don't want to drag on too long. I just want to let other people have an opinion and a chance to talk.
No, you're good, man. I think Discord is just having server problems. I switched the server location while we were on the call.
Hopefully the audio was good. Anyway, you do good work, man. And props on I'm going to kiss your ass a little bit here. Giving back to the community all the time, setting up eco servers for your subs and everything. You're a good guy. You play hockey, man. So no complaints, man. Have a good one.
Go Rangers.
Bye.
but I love Quinn Hughes. So,
Go Leaf.
oh, you're a Leafs
Go
fan
Leafs,
with
go.
a Canuck name? All right. Well,
Yeah, well, Canuck
I like
means
Austin
Canadian, right?
Matthews. I watch the Leafs more than I watch the Rangers these days. So,
That's all good.
yeah. All right, buddy. We'll
All right,
talk to you
take care,
soon.
man.
Bye now.
Bye.
All right. So I know we have a few tweets, but we're not quite ready for those. So let me try and get that together right now. I'm less prepared than I thought I would be today. I actually prepared early on, and I'm not as prepared as I thought. So the title might be different here, and the cam is different. Yeah, this isn't going to work. So tweets I'm not going to be able to do today, unfortunately. So I apologize. I might just read them out instead of put them on the screen for you guys instead. Or I can put them over here. Yeah, we could do tweets from here. So with that said, let me bring our next caller in, and I'll get the tweets together between that. Who is a layman? A layman is our next caller. Callers, bam. And that should pop. There we go. All right, let's bring him in. A layman, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. Can you hear me?
I hear you perfect. So what are your thoughts on this? Obviously, you can address anyone else in the previous callers as well.
Yeah, I've been taking a few notes because there's obviously quite a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
I think obviously to answer the main question, yes and no. I think skins is probably, as I think many people have echoed already, probably one of the best ways to do it, primarily because it's easy and it usually just means that it's a vanity item. And for a bit of context, I'm a Kickstarter backer, and I
Okay.
remember those early days when CR would say that monetization for the game longer term is planned to be on more of a vanity basis rather than an advantage pay to win basis. He was very adamant about that.
Yes.
If that has changed, then obviously we should know about that. But CIG's messaging is not always on point. But I'm going to assume that it hasn't. So
I don't
skins
think
is
it
fine.
has. Yeah.
I think skins would be the best way to do it, because then those who have earned those skins, whether it be through loyalty to the actual program itself or through like you did with the Vandal Mask, actually taking part in these events that mean something towards some of the lore of the game or whatever, some significant milestone in the game's history, that should be kind of commemorated with a piece of memorabilia. Having a particular item, you run into problems where, if there's an advantage on the specs of that item that normal purchasable in-game items do not have, then you run into, again, the pay to win, pay to have an advantage sort of issue.
Yeah.
Now, my perspective, as a few people who have already been on, I was an EVE Online player for 9 years.
Okay.
I played from 2007 to 2016. And I kind of echo, to a degree, what Canuck said about if you cannot afford to replace what you think you might lose, you should not be flying it.
Yeah.
And as extreme as it may sound, I kind of also think that that should apply to expensive pledge ships as well. I mean, there are people who are making these crazy decisions to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars, thousands in some cases, on their ships. And I can't help but think that if they make a decision like that, they should have a plan. And ideally, you want it to be a well thought out one. And I know that sounds really harsh, but I really do think that is there should be a game plan for the stuff that you've purchased from the game, especially if it costs that much money. Additionally, I think as time has gone on, and obviously we've had a huge influx of perhaps less informed backers coming into the project because of all the pretty trailers and gameplay demonstrations and what have you, I think that some people are perhaps making the mistake that they are buying content for the game rather than backing the project.
100%.
And
no
I
matter
think
how much they're reminded that they're only backing the project and they're getting this ship as a gift, they are buying content for the game. There is no denying it, whether it is a skin to look cool or it is a ship to unlock more capabilities, or I mean straight up unlock the ability to mine. On there I This was back from the Redacted podcast from years ago. I was saying you need, if you put any ship in game for purchase, this was before ships were in game for purchase, the Prospector has to be one of them. You cannot lock access to mining behind a purchasable ship. You can't do
Indeed,
it.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree there. And to a degree, you could say that about a number of coming mechanics that will be on the horizon, like salvaging.
Yeah.
Obviously that's kind of they're going to bring out like a handgun or something for stripping, but when it comes to proper salvaging operations, the Reclaimer is going to be what you want, or maybe the Vulture, or whatever that other ship is
But
called.
you can purchase the Reclaimer in game now. You'll be able to purchase
Yeah.
the Vulture in game. It seems the trend is the following patch they put it for sale. So they got that figured out, and I think they did it right. They gave you the time to purchase the ship for real money, and then after that you can earn it in game if you like. And eventually there'll be a wipe, and obviously that's a problem. But those won't happen long term. But
Yeah, exactly.
the whole thing is, I'm with you 100%. You should not be able to leave. You should not leave the hangar if you're afraid that you're going to lose something. I think ship hulls. I think we all bought in, whether we like it or not. If we're interested in Star Citizen, we're aware of the insurance system, getting your hull back, right? But it comes down to the current system of Star Citizen, which I do feel is in place only because of the state of Star Citizen, is that you gain everything back. And it does create the scenario where there's no risk. None.
Indeed, and I think people get used to that
Yeah.
a little bit too much, rather than actually keeping in their mind exactly what the idea of the game overall is supposed to turn out to be. When it comes to insurance, I think longer term, I mean, obviously, like earlier on, I forget who it was, but there was talk of the potential for exploiting the reclaim system, creating duplicates of ships because you pledged for it rather than bought it in the game. I personally think one way to get around that would be actually kind of tying into the recent whole ship naming thing. Ship registration, like if you treat it like car registration or something, you never have two license plates on the road at any one time that are the same. And of course, if the VIN number, or let's say the VIN number of the ship, whatever, is still active and sort of, in service, so to speak, in the verse, there should be a database that reflects this. And if, I would have thought that that in it alone should put out of people's minds that the potential for duplication is actually going to be a problem.
But what if your insurance gave you a new ship that had a different VIN number, which is probably what should happen.
Well, again,
you lose that name.
Okay, perhaps lose the name, but I think you should have to reinvest in the ship because it's a brand new ship.
Sure, I agree. You should also have to reinvest in the ship, as in upgrading the components. That's what you mean by reinvest, right?
Indeed, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that.
And basically, it's like, again, bringing back EVE Online. Now, obviously, there wasn't such a complex system in place that identified each individual ship as unique. But let's say, for example, like I had a Drake, which is kind of like a battle cruiser, I think.
Okay.
And I was in a ratting site, or I was doing some PvP or something, and it got blown up. I can get another Drake. There's nothing stopping me, but I have to buy it. That is the only option there. And I think anybody who has lost a ship that they have pledged for should, again, because of the fact that we're not paying money for the advantage to kind of get any kind of exclusive rights over content in the game, they should have to go through the same kind of gameplay process of love and loss as any other player in the game. Obviously, the more time you spend grinding for a ship and more UEC it costs, or the more money you paid in the CIG store to purchase your ship, it's going to hurt a lot more when you lose it. I'm not, that's just an inevitability, but that is one of the risks that you kind of take anyway by engaging in the transaction. I do have one idea though for on the pledged ships specifically. It's content like anything else.
Okay.
Right? They should have the option to sell their ship.
Of course.
Rather than obviously hoard it. And the same
Yeah.
way that somebody mentioned earlier, in EVE Online, you would buy Plex, and you could use that Plex for game time on your account, or you could put it onto the market to make yourself some money. And because you don't have a lot of time, you now have a lot of money to invest in the game what you wanted to invest in, whether it be ships or skill books or whatever it was you were looking
Sure.
for in the first place. I think it should just be treated like any other piece of content. Skins as well.
Can I stop you before we continue and go on to skins?
Yeah, sure.
Someone in chat said the backlash will be huge if cash ships are non-recoverable. I don't think anybody's saying the ship is not recoverable, but when we started talking about the vehicle ID numbers, this thing started rolling in my head, and it's epic. You lose an 890 jump named the Gatsby. Okay?
Okay.
Somebody steals it.
Yeah.
It blows up.
Mm-hmm.
One or the other. I don't think they're going to not allow you to not name your new one the Gatsby. But that vehicle ID number exists in perpetuity.
As the Gatsby.
It was stolen. Let's say. Let's use it was stolen as the example, right? 3 years goes by. And you're in Pyro.
Mm-hmm.
And at the station is the Gatsby. You scan it. It's your Gatsby from 3 years ago. What do? Right? Like, this is one of those things where it doesn't go, it goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
You've lost it, but you can recover it.
Yep.
And you can do an insurance claim. You get a new Gatsby. It has a different ID number. It's not the same Gatsby, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, the name wouldn't be the same.
Maybe the
anyway.
name wouldn't be the same. But at the same time, is that how they want to do it? I think that's something that is sort of cool. But with insurance claims and the way they currently work, there's no way that if you make an insurance claim, you lose the name. Is it?
Well, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, there are some details that are up in the air. Well, I don't have it up in front of me. In my mind, if I were to design this, and I'm not a designer or developer or anything, just an idiot, basically I would. They're all about making the unique experience, having the unique ship that is personal to you or a set of events or for a purpose or whatever. I would think that having the name kind of be able to be reclaimed for your new hull would kind of be a bit cheap.
Okay.
When put up against that goal, because it's no longer a unique ship. It no longer has a history. It no longer has the record of the adventures that you've been on, because now your new version of that hull is called the same thing. So why bother naming ships at all?
Yeah.
But
I'm really
that's of
curious.
course just my 2 cents there. But I mean, in that scenario, great story. Obviously, 3 years later, I found my old ship. You should be able to, or perhaps even desire to, if you're having any kind of emotional attachment to that ship, steal it back.
Yeah.
I mean, what's stopping that from happening? I apart from the fact that we don't have that kind of functionality in the game, but long term, it will be, right? And I like to think that the tool set that would be there would allow you to steal it back, as long as you're savvy enough to know how.
Okay.
And can I really think out?
I'm gonna bring this up on stream. This was a little bit of a bad wording, I think. So it says,
Okay.
what happens if I reclaim my ship? I mean, Star Citizen players, reclaim my ship means use the insurance
The
system.
same ship.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is not what they're talking about here. They're talking about reclaiming a pledge. So if you reclaim your pledge, which is melting, another word for melting, then the name would disappear. So when I saw this, I was like, oh, reclaim. Yeah. Does it go away? What? No. So that's not the case with
Okay.
with it. But wouldn't wouldn't it be cool? I don't know. I think it'd be
It
sweet.
would.
But the problem with that is let's use me as an example, right? I'm going to get trolled significantly more than your average Star Citizen player because I'm putting myself
Yeah.
out there in the public, right? So if I have a ship
Yeah.
like my Orion, which I'm going to, that's my 890 jump for my ship that is really big, I spent money on, and I would like to have and hold forever like a baby, is
Mm-hmm.
that if that was able to be taken from me and stolen, and I couldn't use that same ship, people are going to use that to troll me. You know?
Yeah. And well, okay, that's a shame,
Yeah.
But why not? I mean, as far as the freedom of behavior within the game, it's trolling, yeah, sure, but is it really that bad?
No.
I don't see any reason for that not to be a possibility.
True.
I mean, I've seen it in EVE Online myself. I've seen plenty of times where, like organizations have been overthrown, and then the new leaders of those organizations, with all of these assets that they've essentially just inherited as a result of their schemy ways, get flaunted in front of the people who just got essentially their livelihood in the games taken from them by force or through espionage or whatever.
Sure.
That's part of that's part of the whole story when that kind of thing happens.
Okay.
And if anything, it helps you remember it better so that you don't let the mistake happen again. Makes you a better player, makes you a little bit more wiser with your choices as you go through the universe. From my perspective, anyway. But yeah, I mean, that's a it's a dick move, but it's a valid one.
Yeah. VJR50 in Twitch chat says this, and this is, I believe, pretty the truth also. SaltEMike, I think you're forgetting, if someone steals a ship with a name / serial, that once you file an insurance report is now outlawed. Pirates need to get the ship renamed, the ID spoofed. Sure, but if it's spoofed, there should be some way to determine that was the prior name of the ship, right?
Yeah, I would think that there'd be, again, another sort of database somewhere in the back end that would keep a record of all that. And I think in those cases, like let's say where your ship is stolen, and then the people who have stolen your ship get away with it, and they get away so-called scot-free, they of course then have to find some shady underdog guy and go, hey, could you re-register this vehicle for me? I don't want to get the cops on my ass. And then maybe the original player who owned that name could reclaim their name for their new ship. Because, well, it happens with boats and stuff all the time. Like obviously, I think it was last week you were talking about ship names, and the Enterprise, of course, came up all over the place.
Yeah.
The Enterprise goes back to, wind sail galleons and stuff back in the ye olde days, And we have an Enterprise, I think, in the world right now, and it's not the same ship, but it's a replacement for that ship, because the old one doesn't exist anymore. And of course, in the eyes of the system and the law, neither does the ship that is stolen from the player initially. So like the Gatsby, someone stole your Gatsby. And let's say I came across and single-handedly, stole an 890 jump through some extreme skill, and I got away scot-free, and I find some shady guy, maybe the guy at Reclamation and Disposal or something, and go, hey, could you do me a favor here and rename my ship, please? And then he renames it. That obviously means that ship, and perhaps even the registration, is spoofed as well. That ship no longer exists in the verse anymore. And sure, you may, with your replacement hull, get a new VIN number, so to speak, a new registration number, but you should have access to your name again.
Yeah, but how
so long as somebody else.
How long would you have to wait?
That's the question.
That's
I think it's down. It depends how much of a troll the guy who stole the ship is. I mean, he could make you wait for weeks before he renames that ship just for fun. Or he could get it done immediately because he really wants to use that ship for an operation that they have in mind for that very day, and they have to get it done super quick.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the context of, again, it's all about why do you behave in the game, right? Yeah. And, that links into so many things. Why do you do what you do in the game? There has to be a reason for it. Otherwise, it's, well, pointless.
True.
So I think that would I think that would be a well, at least that's how I think about it anyway.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to skins?
Let's move on to skins.
Yeah, I think obviously skins for people who are subscribers and all this who get all this extra special content. I think it's probably the best way to deal with exclusive items because you're essentially using existing assets and the existing specifications of them to keep the game as balanced as it should be without introducing any sort of rare or sort of wild card elements into the gameplay and it's potentially screwing up the balancing of the whole thing. And all you're doing is painting it. And you know the history behind how you got that paint. If you bought it, that's fine. You still have a fancy paint. But if you earned it, then that's great. You have a history there. You have a story to tell.
Yeah.
And and of course, if you're a subscriber and you back the game and supported it as you have, then that should also be recognized. But I just don't think a unique asset is the way to go about it because you end up it ends up being far too hard to manage.
That unique asset should exist. Okay. There's nothing wrong with having a purchasable asset. Like let's again use like the homestead or apartment or hab, however they want to go about it, as the example. Should a couch or a Fortnite pillow be an asset that you could purchase on the website if you want? Sure.
Yeah, because it's a vanity item.
Yeah, but it's an item, right?
Yeah.
And you could potentially lose that if you put your couch in your Carrack. But it's sort of different with armor for some reason, where I think people are like, oh man, they're gonna wear my helmet and then kill me with it, So it's a little bit. I think it's a little bit different. There's nothing wrong with having it be an item, but if you decide for it to be an item, that item is lost. If you
it
pay
should be
for
treated
it and
like
it goes
any
away.
other.
It can't be both. It has to be one or it has to be the other. It either has to be a skin or it has to be an item. It cannot be other. One or the other. It cannot be both. It has to be one or the other.
And if it is an item, it should be treated as such. And if it is a skin, then just duplicate it as many times as you like. Enjoy whatever weapon you want to put your skin on infinitely if you decide to reinvest in the same weapon again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's where I would come from with it. And additionally, like, I can't help but, like, if I may be blunt, I can't help but imagine that I mentioned earlier on, I think there's a little bit of a ill-informed basis of knowledge of people who actually spend all this money on this game as to what exactly they're spending the money for. They're spending the money to support the development, not to buy content.
Yeah.
And I think even with that in mind, people who are concierge or I don't know all these names, legacy backers or whatever, they already have access. Well, will eventually have
Legatus.
access. Yeah.
Triple
Sorry,
Legatus.
I tip my hat. I tip my hat to such a term.
I tip it right back.
Yeah. But they already are going to get access to exclusive areas of the game, like the Million Mile High Club and Concierge VIP and all.
My weekend hangout. Yes.
Yes, where all the cigars are and stalking, wearing women and all that, whatever, insert your fantasy here. Like there's so many players that are not going to get access to that anyway. And so, and again, that like with the skins and sorry, to go back to your point about the armor, I think the difference between those two things is that the armor has a gameplay relevance and a skin does not. A skin is bragging rights. It means nothing. It just gives the perception of, or it means something to the person holding it, perhaps. But in a gameplay perspective, it doesn't do anything. It's just a paint job.
Yep.
And just like I think a couch, as you brought up, it doesn't affect gameplay. Sure, it might give you a covering spot on your Carrack or something. I don't know. But and that's assuming that they're even physicalized that way. Who even knows at this point what a couch is going to be like? But overall, they don't actually have a gameplay relevance, and so it doesn't matter really for me whether they're paid for in store or in the game. They do the same thing, which is almost nothing. Whereas armor doesn't. Armor has relevance.
Okay.
As opposed to clothing. I don't think clothing has relevance. So you can buy that on the store or you can buy that in the game. I don't care, honestly, because if you lose it, it doesn't really affect what you can do in the game, other than you might look a little bit less sexy until you get to the next station. That's all. But yeah, I just think there's a bit of a convolution between what affects gameplay and what affects a game experience. And I think there should be a separation of those two because they're definitely getting muddled up when it comes to a topic like this.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I'm not sure if I had anything else to say. Sorry, I kind of filibustered there for a bit, but yeah, I mean, overall, I think items that you purchase, if they are relevant to from a gameplay perspective, like they affect the way you can play the game or any kind of advantage or disadvantage that you might have in the game, they should be destroyed if they are destroyed. They should not just be instantly reclaimable because, as you already pointed out, and as I'm sure many other people have, that's pay to win. That's pay for an exclusive access to something that not everybody can get access to. But if you're thinking about it like how you are actually investing in this game, which is supporting the development, giving them money to continue the development to finally get this game in a position where we might be able to call it complete, then it shouldn't matter what happens to your ship. It should matter what you decide to do with your ship, though. And that affects the outcome of everything.
Agreed. Very good call, Layman. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I just want to say I've watched you for years, man, and this is the first time I think I ever typed anything in your chat or came on to the show. But I just thought,
see, guys,
I'm awake. Why not?
They're not robots, okay? The viewers that are, they're actually there.
Sizzle, crackle, boom, you know. But yeah, I just want to say I watch your stuff every week, and I hope you never stop, because in the mountain of noise that is Spectrum and Reddit and all this kind of stuff, I think you are that fine frequency that tunes into sanity sometimes. And in a very balanced way. Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes
but then
I
again,
go insane.
This whole thing is insane. Think about it. You know,
it really is.
You know, to be insane or what's that expression? To be normal in an insane world. What does that say about the, you know?
Yep.
But yeah, just, you know, keep doing what you're doing. Also, loving the new camera.
Thank you.
I think you look super fine.
Do you like my pillow?
Yeah, your pillow? Well, yeah, sure. Why not?
Pretty poggers.
You're on about the Fortnite one.
Yeah. What about my Minecraft pillow? Do you like my Minecraft pillow?
Very nice.
Thanks.
Definitely more a fan of the Minecraft side of things than the Fortnite, but each unto their own.
Yes. All right. Well, Layman, we'll let you go, man. Thank you so much for the kind words. Thank you for the call. It was great. I hope we talk to you again soon.
I will try and be here. Have a good day.
You too. Bye now. All right. And our last caller is going to be Reezer. Reezer is kind of the person who spawned the whole conversation. In the first place, we had a conversation with Reezer and Space Cutlet, and yeah, it was around the idea that Reezer really wanted the Vantool mask to be a skin that he couldn't lose because he wanted to go out and show off his achievements, and that's something that nobody really mentioned here. Now, before Reezer gets on, Lucky in chat mentioned something, and this is where I was holding back and waiting for somebody else to go on about it with, is for something like the skinned items, like a skinned weapon or a skinned armor. They can utilize the degradation system to apply that game session quickly. That an item that is purchased, maybe, the skin can degrade a little bit faster, and you have to go to the subscriber store to reapply that skin or something like that to make it go away. That's what I was thinking, that you could tie that aspect into it, is that it could degrade a little bit quicker, but we'll see. But we're going to bring Reezer on. Let me just change over the name here real quick. And yeah, let's see what he has to say. Mr. Reezer. Hello.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I do.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Good work
Just-
today, by the way.
thank you.
Yeah.
I think we are getting there, finding the fun, even though it's hidden, very hidden in some regards.
Yes.
Anyway, so my take, it was the same previous week, is the same now, right? In a video game which is not real life and I play in my free time, I don't want to keep any cosmetic item on some random ass private shelf in a personal apartment in a city somewhere. Let me use my cosmetic items that have no gameplay advantage, just purely cosmetic. I think all unique items should be skins, not unique gear with different stats, including the Vandal Max, for example, including items that are just achievement items, not skins you pay money for. Every single one of these unique items should be just skins. And you could apply this to the existing standard items, and you wouldn't lose the cosmetic part, right? So there would be a different slider. Make something like the Wonder Mask, a cosmetic modification you can make to a standard helmet, right? And then when you die, the skin is removed from that item. It turns, or just turns back into the original item that you are wearing underneath the skin, right? And then the player who loots it just gets that item, and the skin goes back into your skin inventory. It's just a special, like, additional bag that you cannot lose. That's always on you. You have access to these skins, right? And in that regard, you lose valuable stuff. Maybe you are just you are at a very high end player. You have a good helmet, like a heavy helmet with the best stats. It took you 10, 12, 15 hours to grind it out, right?
Okay.
But you still lose that helmet permanently.
Sure.
But the skin is removed from it and it is taken back into your inventory, and you can reapply it for whatever helmet you choose to equip next, basically.
Fine. But the thing that is, like, I just cannot get behind is something like the Vandal Mask. While being a cosmetic item that you can use to roleplay a Vandal in the game or something like that, it's what the value of it really is that you completed this task. It is a trophy. Okay? It is not a thing that you should let's start from a different standpoint. I should not be able to take a normal helmet, let's just use the basic helmet that you start with, and apply the Vandal Mask skin to that in some weird magical portal that makes that happen in a game that's supposed to have a certain level of realism. So I have a really hard time getting behind applying a change that large. Paint is a whole nother story. Lights and attachment, right? That's a different case, I think. But
I would disagree. Sorry.
Okay, yeah,
I don't
you can
care.
disagree,
I don't
but
care.
I think
For
your
me,
take is, like, atomically bad. It's just super
fair
weird.
enough.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a differing of
think so.
opinions. The value that the Vandal Mask has is as an achievement. I get you want to show that achievement off, but do you need to show that achievement off when you're taking out a bounty or doing a mining run?
Yes, whenever. I don't care. If you want to use the Vandal Mask that you earned in 2020, I don't know, for like sitting in a conga line somewhere, doesn't matter. You can do it, and then you die. You lose the helmet. Use the helmet, but not the skin, and it's just a skin. And everything else is just a skin, purely cosmetic, no gameplay advantage. You can apply it, doesn't matter. It's fine. That's my personal take, and I feel like fuck this Eve mentality that don't use a cosmetic item if you don't want to lose it. And that's for me is what I would consider to be an atomically bad take personally. That's a genuinely shit take in a video game. I don't care, really. I don't want any shelf with just a bunch of garbage rare item from 2012 slammed onto it, never having used it ever because of being so afraid to just having it stolen from me.
I see where you're coming from, right? Like, it is stupid to say that for every scenario, right? But you're saying the same thing about would you agree that I get a very good weapon that works really well, but it's an incredibly hard grind to get?
Mm?
Should that be lootable and losable?
Yeah,
Okay,
of course.
I mean,
Everything that's just not purely cosmetic. Let's give an example. That is right now in the game.
The Vandal Mask is not purely cosmetic. That's the argument I'm trying to make.
And that's what I take issue with. I think it should be a skin, no matter how unrealistic it seems. But again, I am in the extreme end when it comes to realism and non-realism. I don't really care about having realism in this sense, where you cannot justify turning like a standard UE helmet into the Vandal Mask. It doesn't matter. I wouldn't care about that aspect of realism in Star Citizen personally at all. So I wouldn't mind being able to turn a standard UEE light combat helmet into the Vandal Mask as a skin, right? But for example, let's say there is the Uber F pistol that has a super special skin for you because you mined 500,000 Quantanium, you unlocked it, and the Uber F pistol is already like a super high and very difficult to get pistol.
Mm-hmm.
Once you lose it, you lose the pistol permanently. If like Cutlet walks up and takes it, but the skin gets removed. And you still have to grind out the next 25, 30, how many hours to get the pistol again, and only then could you reapply the skin, obviously. So I am very much in the camp of losing items permanently, all across the board. Just the cosmetic item, which is not even an item, it's just a visual modification, is what is forever bound to your account, in my ideal scenario.
Yeah. You understand that there's collectors in MMOs, right? So they need to have that element of the game as well. I know you're telling me your perspective, but
then feel free to put it on a shelf. I'm not removing the option. If you want, buy some cheap ass like worn down UE helmet, apply the skin to it, and just place it in your apartment on the shelf to show off, and then you can have like 100 items that you collected from 2012 to 2000
by paying for them, which is even better.
And then you can have them all on a shelf, but you have the option to do it, right? But it's still going to be a skin applied to a standard item, but you will see the skin there. I'm not taking away the option from those people who want to do that, who want to have their apartment decked the fuck out in their special items. I am fine with that. All I'm saying is that we should have the option to carry and show off the personal items on us, and they should only be considered a skin. Same with sheepskins. I think sheepskins should be operating on the same way, and you can take issue with realism once again, right? Like, for example, the Cutlass Green skin. Your Cutlass Green is stolen, for example. Somehow that skin has to be returned to you. Now, whether it's like the first time the pirate takes it away or like stores it, and then when he respawns the ship is back in the original like green or the original blue color or whatever, right? I don't care about the details too much personally, or it's just slowly worn down. It doesn't matter. I just want the skin to be returned to you. The skin for achievements, for real life purchases, whatever. And then you can, once you, like, for example, let's say your Cutlass black with the green skin blows up, and then you have all the costs, or like it's fully decked out. You have the XL1, you have the FR shields, whatever. You lose everything. Reclaim the ship. You have to pay up for whatever the insurance doesn't cover. So then you spawn the ship, but you still lost all the components. All the XL1, the FR, the GS400, every component is lost forever, right? In my ideal scenario. Yes. But the skin you can reapply.
Because that's obviously not the current scenario, but we hope that changes.
I hope that changes, absolutely.
Yeah, I think most people do.
I am not talking about not losing anything. Very far from it. It's just about the cosmetic item. Yeah. And that's my take. I know people disagree. I don't care about EVE Online at all. I don't care about storing my cosmetics in some faraway apartment anywhere. Let me use my cosmetics, and because they don't bring any advantage. The only advantage you can just maybe mental gymnastics your way into is because you don't precisely know what helmet it is that you applied it to. But I think there will always be better helmets that people will know about. There will always be a meta. It's fine. And when it comes to pay to win, this would be like the 100th pay to win aspect in a game where you can buy $3,000 Warbond spaceships in bit LTI, right? So this aspect, this approach, I don't think stands up or warrants any kind of discussion. Personal, but who knows? I heard some interesting approaches and ship names, for example, and then we don't even get into the real issues. Like for example, how will they do, or what will they do with ships like the Saber Raven? That is a fundamentally unique ship, not just a skin. That people will those guys who bought that ship for like $300 on the gray market or bought the Intel i7 processor for it, what will they be able to get it back, or what will CIG do with it to make it balance? What if it's going to be the strongest ship in the game at one point, and then people just don't have access to it because it's supposed to be this special item that has actual gameplay modifications, right? So in a game where you have all those like crazy issues to figure out, I don't think the aspect of being able to change a skin, an item with a skin, giving you some kind of advantage would be in like the top 100 when it comes to issues. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I put a poll up. Twitch chat, you can type 1 in chat for F Eve or 2 in chat for Yay Eve, just to get a sense of how many people want really heavy Eve mechanics in Star Citizen and how many people don't. So feel free to type in chat and share your opinions in that fashion.
Seems like I'm in the majority.
Yeah. And I think you're right there. Like, people trying to take their elements from their game and apply it entirely to this game is a bit ridiculous and exhausting, and I think kind of stupid. But to take, like, this is how Eve did it, and I liked that. I mean, that's, I think, what most people are saying. I like the way Eve did that. I like the way Guild Wars did that. I like the way Ultima Online did it. Blah, 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 blah. For me, Ultima Online, I think, did it the best. Like, there was events. You got an event item. If you went out in the world with that event item in a dangerous place, you lost it, right? But if you didn't, you didn't. But you can insure items, things like that. So, I don't know. But is there anything else you want to add, Reezer, before we bring Cutlet on, who was kind of on the exact opposite of what you said?
All I got to say, I love Cutlet. I know we're going to disagree in this regard, and I am interested in what he has to say. Yeah, have a nice day, Mike. Thank you, everybody.
Buddy. Talk to you.
Take care.
Bye now. All right, the poll was just a bit of a meme, but let's bring Cutlet on here. Hey, Cutlet, what's up, dude?
Hello.
Cutlet promised to be quick.
I'll be quick. First thing, I'm surprised 20% is Yay Eve. I thought it would be 2%. I'm really amazed by this community actually having 20% Yay Eve. That's the first thing I want to say. Also, I kind of get what Reezer is saying, though I don't want to smack talk him.
Yeah.
Right. So I'll just be like very quick on this. First, because he was talking about a lot of cosmetics, about mostly cosmetics, so yeah. I'm gonna touch on that quickly. I think a lot of problems with what Reza was pointing out is the Vandal helmet, because it's the only item we can talk about right now, realistically, right? Yeah. Or one of the very little items we can talk about it. I think maybe it's just the Vandal helmet itself was a bit of a mistake from the CAG side to do. Maybe
if it was
not.
A trophy
I don't know.
Of some kind, it would have been different.
Yeah,
you mean?
I think both of the visions can exist, and it should be just defined which kind of item you're getting for what. And like, I'm totally fine with the majority of like achievements or financial IRL purchases being skins. There was a really good idea you pointed out. Actually, I never thought about it. Because we don't want to, when you loot a gun from someone, we don't want it to lose that skin, right?
No.
It's going to be immersion breaking, not cool for you as a winning side, but then it's a way to duplicate a lot of stuff, right? So the idea where you take the gun, you have the skin, and it's on the timer, basically, or on the how long you use it, and that skin wears off. Like it just becomes like not rusty, but like the guns
Degrades.
in the it degrades, like the guns in the bunker of the security guards. They're like degraded already.
Yeah.
And then if you are the owner of the skin, you can keep it up constantly, right? You can reapply it, or it will not degrade because you are the owner. But if you just stole it, it will degrade. That's a very good idea, actually.
Yeah.
I think. And then obviously with everything around the skins, I'm totally up for skin ownership being a permanent thing, no matter how much you lose that item, unless it is noted otherwise. Again, no matter how people may not like hearing of Eve, what Eve has, it has two types of skins. It has permanent skin, you add up to your collection. For a certain ship, you have a certain skin. No matter how much times you lose the skin, you can reapply it. And then there is like time-limited skins for the events or whatever other. You have, for example, 30 days you can use that skin, and then it's just gone. I don't want to go into details, why it's time limited, whatever. It's just like that, right? Sure. But then, after, if we've done with the skins, I think everyone would be fine with that system. But then there could be in-game items, like not just the skins, but physically geometry changed items, not the standard items. Those I think should be like trophies, is my personal opinion. And if you want to keep it safe, you keep it safe. They may be very rare, super crazy rare. Those are not skins. Those are either ships with modified hulls, like geometry.
Yes.
As an example, like Reezer said, with a Cuddy Black and a green skin, right? And then imagine Drake like had this competition or whatever challenge, and there is only one person who could win it with an exclusive like Drake limited Cuddy Black that has a distinctive like difference in how it is.
The wings on the front are different or whatever, right?
Like whatever, yeah. The way geometry looks, right? And maybe even it has different, like Eve does. Like those super limited ships, they even have different stats, right? They're just usually a bit better than their counterparts. Those things, you better keep in a hangar, right?
Yeah.
Those are like super rare collector's items that cost $1 billion, that some people will sell their soul for, and those are the real collector's item. You keep safe, and yeah, you just jerk off on them basically in your hangar.
Yeah.
But majority of things, they should be skins. Easy as that.
Yep.
And that will, I think, solve the problem. And then for crazy collectors, those are like those items. It's like a medal for like taking part in whatever. You don't wear it outside every day. Or
I would mine mindlessly for hours. Like if there was an event that I could not go to because I had work or something stupid, if there was an event that I missed out on getting an item that was an event item, I would mine mindlessly for months. If I needed billions in order to purchase that item, I would do so. Like the difference between like Reezer and me is that, and we have to be able to both exist in this world, so both items need to exist. Like there has to be items in game where Reezer has to think twice about going out and showing it off, and there has to be items in game where it just makes sense to not have it be that way, you know. And I think that's where like me and Reezer and you and I and Reezer differ so much on the topic is he feels everything should be able to be shown off. I should be able to show off all of my achievements. Well, you can.
It will become World of Warcraft or Grimmar when everyone is running with small Diablos with huge shoulder pads in clown masks, and it's just a freaking mess.
Yeah.
Everyone will be running with all the weird clown bullshit around. Like I personally, I don't really want it, and it loses. Then these items, they like kind of lose the rarity of them, right?
Yeah.
And but yeah, like things with like, for example, this what is called tomahawk helmet, like the
That Spartan thing, it looks
uh,
ridiculous.
Spartan thing, right? And okay, we'll just remove. Is it looking ridiculous or not? It's just a matter of again of your taste, right?
Sure.
I think again there should be the Spartan helmet as a normal item in the verse that you can buy, but the thing you get with concierge is a better skin,
Yeah.
right? Without any geometry modifications, just a better skin. It's like Shining or whatever, like Reezer is running around in, right?
Yeah.
So there has to be a normal one, and then a skin you can earn with achievement, and then a skin you can, for example, buy with IRL in a subscription shop, and they're different.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just like apply it. If it gets stolen from you, looted from you, the guy who looted it gets it, and then it degrades with time, right? And it's gonna be totally fine. I think
Yeah.
like both things should exist, and I will really feel bad if something unique like you can lose will not exist. That will remove a lot from the collectioner gameplay, or just like, whoa, this guy has this. I saw it like in his hangar. That is insane. That will remove that.
Yeah.
And I'm probably done with it. If I say something else, it's gonna be all like circle jerking the same thing.
I think you're on it.
Like
You and I are on the same
about-
page.
yeah,
The
it was
degrading
about
thing is a
cosmetic.
cool element that Lucky brought up.
Very good. I think
Yeah.
that was a very good idea. I never thought about it. Now I think about it, and it pisses me off. It wasn't my idea. So yeah. The second thing is the ships. You know my yeah. Why do I hear my?
You hear the stream somehow. Turn the stream off.
Yeah. Okay. I accidentally unmuted. Sorry.
Yep.
So yeah. The second thing is about the ships. You probably know. You kind of know my standpoint on that. And all the reclaim stuff. I totally think they should go the way I described it on your stream too, multiple times. The LTI stuff or any IRL insurance that was bought, that the ship was bought with, should be separated from the ship. You lose a ship, you have to buy it again, but you have your LTI insurance in your insurance book. When you buy the ship, you can apply that insurance back.
Yep.
All that has to be balanced, so there is no like insurance fraud.
Yep.
You cannot like multiply the ships and stay in profit. What this will allow, it will allow proper more of a player-driven economy, so players can produce ships. They can compete with NPCs, and then there could be a great happy family doing all the business, all the industry all together, and there will
Yay!
not be like insurance company spawns that ship from nowhere for you. It's actual players who produce, who compete with NPCs, and that's what will motivate, like losing the ship like that will motivate players to buy the same ship over and over
Thoughts
again.
on my Tarkov components and insurance scenario where you apply the insurance
I missed
to
that
the
part.
well, it's just how Tarkov works basically. You apply insurance to the items that you would like to insure on your ship, say a very good weapon, right? And if you are disabled / destroyed and those items are still there, because we have full persistence in Star Citizen, right? If you go to that location, those items should still be there. If I crash landed on Hurston, if those items were not looted in a certain period of time, then they are returned to me by the insurance company. The insurance company goes out, finds them, brings
basically
them back.
Quanta works,
Yep.
and an NPC salvager goes there, picks
Yep.
it up, and gives it to the insurance company, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, though I don't know how that's gonna work with ships. That's
Okay.
gonna be frauded pretty badly, right?
Most
With
likely.
the components, yeah. I don't understand how that's gonna work with ships. So
Because
what I'm
it's
saying
only
is,
frauded. It can only be fraud. Okay, if you, Cutlet, I crash land, you come across the ship, you loot all the good items off of it that I insured. The insurance company comes back and cannot return the items that were put in someone else's inventory. They can only return what was left
Yeah,
there.
I get it. So how would this insurance work with ships, or is that only for components? Because
no,
what
I
will
only mean
happen-
components. I only mean components, not hulls.
Yeah, components. Components. It makes sense. It makes sense because with the ships, I give you my ship. Or for example, no, sorry. I steal a ship from you, right? And I just to troll you on purpose. I never fly with it, and it never gets destroyed, right? So you will never get your insurance claim on it. So that will not work with ships. With components, totally I agree.
Yeah, the whole thing with ships, I think we just have to accept we're always going to get the hull back. I don't think that's ever going to change.
Yeah, I mean, I will always hope for the system I'm talking about, but I'm not hoping for it. You know, hope, no hope, right? Like that.
Yeah,
I would love it to be like that. It will just make the industry gameplay so much deeper, but I don't know, man.
We'll see. But all right, Cutlet.
Well, that's about it. I promised it's going to be fast, so I tried my best.
You did a good job. Cutlet, thank you again. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. ADC is always great, as always.
All right, bye, brother.
Camera is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Bye.
Bye now. So that is Answer the Call for this week. I think people had a lot of good things. Sorry I didn't get to tweets. I did kind of figured out my setup, and specifically with the camera, it made things different and weird, and I just forgot one part. So I apologize for the tweets, guys. I'm going to read them real quick. Rainwalker says, I'm expected CIG to prevent subflare looting in-game. They will only allow game items to be looted. I think that would be like really bad and totally break things. And I think we went into that discussion a little bit. And Go Mitch Yourself said, CIG said that money bought items that you can lose in-game will have some kind of reclaim through a special vendor. He said Disco Lando talked about. That was the clip that I mentioned before. So those were the two tweets that we had anyway. So yeah, I find items to not be able to be looted even though you can see them just totally weird, immersion breaking, and never. But yeah, that was the show today, guys. So if you are watching on twitch.tv/SaltEMike, make sure you guys, if you missed any part of the show, it's going to be up on YouTube later today. I'm going to get it up as fast as I can. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit like, subscribe. And if you haven't yet, feel free to check out our Discord community, discord.gg/SaltEMike, or my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/SaltEMike. All right? Everybody have a great one. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.